Hello, everyone. Welcome to December 2025, the last month in the year 2025. Can you believe it? Heading into the holiday season. I'm so excited to have Gabriel Posner be our speaker today. He's going to talk about a little bit about his new book. It's you can pre-order it on Amazon. It's called Somatic Techniques for Massage Therapists. Both Gabriel and I come from a massage background. We worked at the same massage school for many years. We followed each other into Hanna Somatic Education, so it's really great to be with Gabriel. He's also the president of the Association for Hanna Somatic Education. He's a teacher, a writer, a mover, and he probably does many more things. And he can tell you about that if he wants to. And so I think without further ado, except I want to say the date today is Saturday, December 6th, 2025. Without further ado, let me hand the class over to Gabriel.
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. Thanks for having this class.
Yeah.
I remember, yes, Susan and I, not at the same time. When you were already teaching at the Novato Institute, I started teaching at NHI. So, and then I went through I was a student at NHI, and then I was a student at Novato,
So NHI is National Holistic Institute. That's the massage school we attended and then became teachers in.
yeah,
Yeah.
you were one of the OG teachers there, and then you became
I
a teacher.
was definitely elder. And I'm even more elder now.
So yeah, so I've been following behind you for a long time, but I remember you used to do this class in person at NHI, if I
Yeah.
recall.
Yep.
So it's really cool to be involved in your class, and thank you for welcoming me. Thank you for all of you that are unfamiliar with me as a teacher and for coming up and trying it out. I hope you enjoy this class. Much of it will be familiar from other somatic classes you've attended, but I'm going to bring in a particular theme, which I'll discuss in a minute. And yeah, if you're interested, I did write a book. It's coming out in a month, a little over a month. You can pre-order it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and other places like that. And essentially it's designed specifically for massage therapists. So anybody with a massage background will benefit from it. But anybody who just touches in a therapeutic way or is interested in thinking about somatics from a different perspective, I think will really enjoy it because it's about changing perspectives. And I think that that can apply to any field. I think that the somatic approach and the somatic philosophy or perspective is something that anybody in any field, and in particular in a wellness field, can adopt because it changes how we relate with the people that we're interacting with. So I welcome you to check it out. And if you do share feedback, let me know what you think about it. And also, I'll be coming around touring and offering workshops on applying somatic techniques to massage sessions, which was the impetus for the book in the first place.
If I could add, Gabriel, I've pre-ordered the book, so I haven't read it yet, but even if you're not a massage therapist, and even if you dabble in hands-on in whatever form of practice you do, if you do work with people, but even if you work over Zoom, I'm going to guess that what Gabriel's book is also going to offer is a way for you to visualize and take in so much more about anatomy from the somatic perspective, from your own first person perspective, because it's going to be so involved with touch that you're going to do touch in your imagination. And some of you work with touch anyway, even if it's not massage. And I just have a feeling it's going to really deepen your practice, however you come at this. So go ahead.
Well, we're always interacting. We're always touching
That's
something.
right.
So, and touch feeds our sensory system, and our sensory system feeds our motor capabilities. And we're going to exploring that actually with our class today. I know somebody asked what's the name of the book. I'm just going to share the link. You can check
Good.
it
Oh, thank you so
out.
much. And in chat, why don't you also put how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
should
have
have done that, but I didn't. Well, Gabriel is doing that. Something crossed my mind. Of course, it zoomed right out. Uh, but well, I can't remember what I was going to say, but it was something very important. Thomas Hanna used to say, "Oh, I was having a very important thought," but it just left my mind because he would be up in front of the class and all of a sudden he would just stop. I mean, sometimes for like 15 seconds. It was a long time. And then he'd kind of shake himself off and come back into the class and he'd go, "I was having remarkable thoughts."
that used to happen to me in mid session. I have amazing thoughts that I wanted to write down for a blog or a book or a class, and by the time the session was over, they were gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm out in Colorado. I work with people virtually and in person. I do a group class on Tuesdays as well. So if you like how I teach, you're welcome to join my group class. Similar to Susan, I teach it, I record it, and I share the recording afterwards to anybody registered. And I work with people one-on-one virtually, and I work with Martha Peterson in Essential Somatics. I train movement teachers and clinical somatic educators. I see some people from Essential Somatics on here, which is awesome. Good to see you all. Good to
I
see
just
you.
want to, if I can interrupt again, and then we'll get to this. But Martha was also my student in massage at National Holistic Institute in the 80s. Martha Peterson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And Ken Bridgman, I think, too.
And Ken was a student. Yep.
NHI is where it all started. And they teach somatics there in their advanced neuromuscular therapy program.
Mm.
Thanks to Susan. I think you brought that to them.
I developed a lot of that curriculum.
And that's a lot of what I teach in my workshop and in the book too. Okay. Do we have a class?
We have a class.
Woo.
Yes.
So this will be a somatic movement class, but I wanted to bring in a particular theme that was introduced to me by a colleague of Moshe Feldenkrais. His name was Rokanan Rywerant. I'm not sure if that's how you say it.
None of us know.
But he did an amazing thing, which was he demystified the magic of what, similar to what Thomas Hanna did. He demystified the magic of what Feldenkrais was doing. But he did it specifically about oh, and Sharon Love Seth, also a student of NHI, and Susan's. Anyway, he demystified a lot of what Feldenkrais was doing and explained it in very concrete terms, like what it was that the Feldenkrais method was all about by observing, by working side by side with Feldenkrais for a long time in his office in Israel. And he wrote this book called Teaching by Handling. And in it, he describes what we do. He describes what is like the magic that occurs when we do these somatic practices, where you're moving in a bizarre way, and all of a sudden your left knee releases and you weren't even thinking about your left knee. You weren't even like you didn't even know, let's say, you were moving your left knee, but all of a sudden something you did in some other part of you released your left knee. And it's a seemingly magical thing that happens. Well, he calls that relative conjugate movement, which is a bit of a mouthful. But the idea is that our typical movement patterns, well, any movement pattern revolves around two parts moving in relation to each other. And generally speaking, when we're moving, our larger, more solid parts are more stable, and our lighter parts are more mobile. For example, as I just moved my arm across, the movement of the shoulder joint is typically the chest is stable and the arm is swinging. And when people get into pain, trauma, injury, they at some point might learn that, oh, it actually hurts to move my arm like this. And they may start to brace and protect and prevent their arm from swinging freely in this way. And the brain is really good at remembering and holding on to patterns and learning from past experiences. And so the legacy of injuries and pain is that we prevent ourselves from doing things that previously were painful. The the way that that arm moved when it hurt becomes locked into the arm movement. The pain and the movement become one. And so when you ask somebody, go ahead and just take your arm like this, they are unconsciously and unwittingly going to be inhibiting that free movement. Unless you move the joint in a way that is not connected to the pain. So, for example, if this causes pain, you don't have to move that arm to move the shoulder joint. And so, relative conjugate movement, in a lot of ways, involves changing which movable part is fixed. Instead of fixing the trunk and moving the arm, you could switch it, and now you fix the arm and you move your trunk. It's the same movement in terms of the joint, but because the part that's stable and the part that's mobile have now switched, the person's reference, which was formerly of being painful and injurious, is not there. And so it allows people to get around and to have a new experience of movement around a joint that has been locked and stuck. So a lot of this is already in the core cat stretch movements, and I'm gonna identify and point out to you where that occurs. But also I'm gonna bring in some maybe unfamiliar or at least movements you don't do that frequently that are really good that employ this idea. So it's called Relative Conjugate Movement, Teaching by Handling by Yochanan Rywerant. It's a fantastic little skinny book you can get on Kindle that I highly recommend if you're a practitioner or just interested in exploring this stuff more deeply. With that, I invite you to stand up and we'll do a standing soma scan if you can stand. If you can't, just be upright in whatever way makes sense to you. But coming upright gives you a chance to check into how it feels to be in your normal way of engaging with gravity, which being a human soma is usually up on two legs. And taking a moment to put aside whatever you were doing before this class. Stop thinking about whatever you need to do afterwards and just tune into your experience being here right now. Feel your contact with the ground or whatever you're contacting. Sense the weight of yourself and noticing if the weight is more on your left leg or right leg, more on your toes or your heels. Sense any parts of you that are calling your attention because they're tight or stiff or achy or painful, and just make note of that. Sense any parts that feel really good. Acknowledge that even if we are feeling some pain, there's likely one, two, or maybe a dozen places that feel great. And then notice if you can sense the amnesia, the sensory motor amnesia, the parts of yourself that might be so habitually locked up that you aren't even aware that they're locked up. Notice your overall physical state. Are you feeling good, bad, in between, tired, whatever it is? I welcome you to sense your overall emotional state too. Feeling excited, happy, gloomy, angry, whatever it is, make note of that. Also, I invite you to make note of your overall cognitive state. How are your thoughts flowing in your head? Are they jumbled? Are you losing your train of thought a lot? Or are you feeling focused and clear? Take it all in, recognize that all of that can change. And then I invite you to make your way onto the ground in a comfortable position. If you want me to see and potentially give specific cues to what I see, then just make sure your camera can see you. Great. And as you come down to rest, you want to be comfortable. You want to have maybe a blanket. We're going to be on our sides a little bit, so might be a good time to grab a pillow or a folded up blanket that you can rest your head on when you roll onto your side. If you need anything for your knees or head or anything else, great. And as you come down to rest, I invite you to just let the ground support you. Let yourself really settle into the ground. I don't know if you want to mute yourself, Susan. Thank you. Great. Okay. And as you come into the ground, notice the points of contact that you make. We're going to be playing a lot with the points of contact. As I was discussing about my book, right? That when you're thinking about massage, you're thinking about how touch feeds attention or draws attention. Touch can be like a flashlight for your awareness, and therefore can be a flashlight for bringing awareness to parts of you that aren't normally in your awareness. So even just coming into contact with the ground, notice, can you let your awareness touch on all the places that your body makes contact? And if you're seated, notice the place of contact that you make on the chair. Let your awareness attend to those. And all the in-between spaces, the places that your spine lifts, or the places where air can pass underneath a knee or neck. Consider how your left side feels compared to your right side. Consider how your breath moves in your body. All of these things that you're doing are normalized, are habitualized. The way that you stood, the way that you lie down. And if you experience chronic pain, chronic musculoskeletal pain, or any kind of chronic musculoskeletal condition, then understand that that condition itself is habituated, meaning the chronicity of it is that you have learned to do it unwittingly, mostly unwittingly. No one's trying to make themselves have a tight back. No one's trying to have a frozen shoulder or a stiff neck. But we learn these things because we do them regularly and we do them then therefore automatically, and then we do them unconsciously. And they become locked into the way that we stand, the way that we drive, the way that we drink a cup of coffee. And therefore, so much of what we're doing is creating novelty, creating a new way of moving that is unrelated to the habitual way of moving. So, the first thing I want you to do is bend your knees and bring your feet up. Great, a comfortable position. And now let's explore this a little bit differently. I want you to put your hands on your hips, on the crease of your hips. So here's a great example, a really simple example of relative conjugate movement. Go ahead and straighten out your legs and then bend them again. Notice the angle of the bend at your hips changes as you bend your knees and as you straighten them. We call this flexion and extension of the hip. As you straighten your legs, the angle of the hips opens up. As you bend your knees and slide your feet up, the angle gets shorter. In this movement, this simple movement, your torso is relatively stable while your legs are moving. The first cat stretch movement we do is a complete reversal of this. So if you bring your knees back up and put them in a comfortable position, and then we do our arch and flatten with your hands still on that place on your hips, notice how the angle is changing. As you roll your back into a gentle arch, relax to rest, and then flatten your lower back, sink the lower spine. Notice how the angle of your hips is changing. So for someone with hip pain, let's say, that might be nervous about moving their leg very much, if you keep the leg stable, more or less, keep it relaxed and upright, but now you're moving your pelvis, then you're rotating your pelvis around your hip sockets. This is an example of relative conjugate movement. If you let your feet be a little bit wider, you might even sense the way you can roll your pelvis in between your legs. Rolling your tailbone down as you gently arch, relax to rest, and then sinking your lower back, engaging your stomach. Can you feel how the hips are lengthening? The front of the hip is lengthening a bit. Relax and rest. Go back and forth a couple more times. How much movement can you create in the hip joints by rolling into a gentle arch, relaxing to rest, and then by sinking your lower back, and then relax your stomach. One more time in each direction. Make sure you come to complete rest in between each movement. And I invite you to let every other part of you just be as still and as at ease as possible. And just that simple example, I want you now to straighten your legs and bend them again. Notice if the flexion of your hip in the ordinary way you move it feels different. As you come to rest, go ahead and lengthen your legs again. You might find that your legs are straighter now. They might even feel a little bit longer. You might find that your back feels more comfortable with the legs straight or not. As my dear mentor Susan Koenig says, whatever is true is true. Okay, bring your knees back up. Let's explore the other end of this, because the other end of your spine, one end is your pelvis, the other end is your head. We have already been pendiculating. We have already been moving and unwinding your neck and head, whether you thought about it or not. So let's think about it. The traditional way we move our head is that we nod it up and down. So in the position you're in with your knees bent, relaxed on your back, go ahead and just nod your head gently up and down. Bring your chin down to your neck and then bring your chin away. Notice any comfort or discomfort. Notice any tension. Now, if you've been doing your somatic practice, asomatic practice for a while, you might already find that your torso is involved in this to some extent. But just notice, bring your attention as you keep on moving your head up and down like this, what your spine is doing, what your ribs are doing, what your back is doing. Is it locked in place or is it moving a little bit? Okay, now let your head relax. Feel the weight of your head. And I want you to let your head be heavy. And try not to move it deliberately in any way. Try to just let it be moved. So if you let your head be relaxed and heavy, when we go back to the arch and flatten now, notice how your neck is involved. So I'm going to have you roll your tailbone down into that gentle arch again. And if you let your head be heavy, you're going to find that as the arch of your lower back length increases, your neck lengthens. Relax to rest. When you get to rest and start to sink your lower back, flattening the arch of your lumbar spine, notice how the arch of your neck increases. Your chin kind of gets pulled away. So if you go back and forth with this arch and flatten, chin comes down toward your neck as your back arches. Relax to rest. Your chin rolls away as your back sinks. Notice how the movement of your spine, of your pelvis and lower back creates the nodding movement you were doing before. For someone with a really stiff neck, for someone with whiplash, let's say, this can be a powerful way of starting to loosen up the neck by avoiding the fear that they likely have, often unconscious fear. They don't even know that they're afraid of moving their neck. The unconscious fear of the neck moving can be worked around by moving everything else, essentially. Great. One more time in each direction. Arching, your chin rolls down. Relax to rest. Everything comes to neutral. Sinking in your center, your chin rolls away. Relax to rest. Good. Now go ahead and just roll your head side to side, nice and easy. Just notice what that's like. And again, this is the normal way that our head moves when we roll. We're going to explore some different kind of twisting things later on, just to work out any stiffness in the neck. Nice and easy. Notice if it moves more easily to the left, to the right. Great. Now I want you to bring your arms out to your sides so that you look like an A from above. So they're not straight out to the sides, they're not tucked into your waist. They're a comfortable distance away from your sides. And let's explore some different ways of moving the arms and shoulders. The shoulder joint is the shallowest joint in the body. It's the least stable joint in the body. And often people have a lot of pain and injury and fear around free movement of their shoulders. So let's explore that. I want you just to move your arms around. Go and lying on your back, just move your arms around a comfortable amount. Notice any limitations side to side. You can move them like you're doing a jumping jack. You can lift them up into the air. You can act like you're controlling traffic at the airport. The only request is that you don't hurt yourself. And again, think about this idea of relative conjugate movement. Think about how when you normally move your arms like this, your torso is fairly fixed. Your spine is stabilized while your arms are moving around. So just getting a general sense of how the arms feel when you move them around like this. Okay, and then bring them out to your sides. Let them rest down. And let's explore essentially some novel ways of moving the arms. We're going to start with taking your left arm and roll it in toward your side. Turn the palm down, and then keep rotating the palm in that direction until the pinky lifts up, the thumb pushes down. Good, and then slowly relax. Let the arm come to rest. And when your arm comes to rest, I want you to roll it in the other direction. So you're turning the palm away from you, thumb presses down, pinky lifts up. And then consider when you turn your hand like this, how much of the rest of the arm is moving. Is the rotation of your hand just in the forearm and wrist, or can you sense your elbow moving? Can you sense your shoulder moving as you go back and forth with this left arm? How far into your center does this movement of your arm connect? So here's an example again of relative conjugate movement. This one from distal to periphery. You're moving your most distal part, your fingertips. And look how that changes and creates movement around your shoulder blade. Can you feel your shoulder blade lift as the arm rolls in? Your shoulder blade sinks as the arm opens up. There's a lot of that magic. Voila. The movement of your hand is the movement of your scapula. But also, can you sense the muscles around your neck that are tightening, relaxing, creating maybe a little bit of arch and flattening, or perhaps creating some rotation in your neck that you weren't even trying to? Good. Now we're going to try something a little different here. I want you to put your palm down, palm facing down. And with your palm facing down, I want you to keep the palm on the ground, and I want you to start to slide the hand, bending the elbow. So if your hand's out to your arm's out to your side, you're going to slide the hand towards your waist and then slide it back out. Now, in order for your hand to slide, things will have to move. Your elbow obviously is moving because your arm's flexing. But can you notice that the movement of the hand, if you don't let your palm come off the ground, your shoulder will have to lift. And as you come back to rest, your shoulder lowers down. And if you then straighten the arm, sliding the palm away from you, notice how the shoulder presses down even more. Let's go back and forth. We don't normally move the arm like this, not letting the hand lift. Notice that movement of the shoulder. So there's a connection between what your hand does, what your elbow does, and what your shoulder does. And we can play with where the movement is initiated from and what part is fixed. So now I want you to bring your hand to a comfortable position and glue the hand in place. Now your hand can't move. And pick a place to start. It doesn't matter where it is. Pick a place to start the position of your hand because we're going to do it in a few different positions. But in the starting position, just hold the hand right there. Don't let it move. But now lift your shoulder towards the ceiling. Slide your shoulder blade towards the ceiling. Let your shoulder blade relax back down. Okay, explore this. Relative conjugate movement. If the hand can't move, then what has to move? Lift the shoulder up, come to rest, then sink the shoulder, press your shoulder down into the ground, and then relax and rest. Lift the shoulder up, and you press the shoulder down. Lift the shoulder up, relax, press the shoulder down. Consider what's happening in your elbow as you do this. One of the first times that I really explored this work was with it was like a welder or something. He was a union worker, industrial worker, and had lost the ability to move his hand. His hand was so stiff and elbow was so stiff, he couldn't straighten his arm. He couldn't open his hand without shooting pain. So we did this. Don't move your hand, but move everything else. What if you sink your center as you lift the shoulder up? What effect does that have on the arm and hand? What if you gently arch and then press the shoulder down? Now, continue this exploration, but change the position of your hand. Bring it closer into your side, bring it further out. And you can also change the angle. So you can rotate your hand a little bit. So like the pinky side is touching the ground, but the thumb is facing the ceiling. You can change how much rotation there is in the wrist. And with every minor rotation and positional change, you get into slightly different muscles around the arm, shoulder, chest, wrist, and hand. None of these involve directly moving the hand. Can you feel the palm muscles perhaps even gently tightening and relaxing as you explore the movement of your shoulder? Good. Finish what you're doing, come to rest. We're going to move around a little bit to give you some different looks, and then you can take this idea and you can go wild with it. But before we do this with your right arm too, I want you to consider how does my left side, how does my left hand and arm and shoulder and neck feel right now compared to the right shoulder, neck, arm, hand? And if you want to straighten out your legs for a moment, you're welcome to do that too. See, changing the way you move creates novelty, and novelty creates mental effort. It's mentally effortful to do something different. That draws effort from your cortex. And the cortex is where learning and adaptation occurs most quickly. So this can be mentally tiring, even if it's not physically tiring. But do you notice a difference in how the left arm, shoulder, neck feel compared to the right? Just make note of that. And then with the right arm, begin to roll it in and out in a comfortable way. Noticing if it moves, if it rolls in or out more easily. You can put the hand in different angles, put the arm in different angles and keep on rolling in and out. Let the shoulder move with it. Notice how your head moves with it. Heck, notice if your left shoulder is affected by the movement of your right arm. Or I should say, notice how your left shoulder is affected by the movement of your right arm. Because it inevitably is. And now, what we did before, you're going to keep your palm down on the ground. Don't let your palm lift. But bend the elbow, sliding the hand in toward your waist and away from your waist. All right, so now what's fixed is your elbow. Your hand moves. The elbow stays in place. And if the elbow can't move, then when the hand moves, your shoulder has to move. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, my shoulder's not moving. Therefore, your hand will also not be moving much. So what happens if you allow your shoulder to move more? When you slide the hand into your waist, let the shoulder lift. When you slide the hand away from your waist, straightening the arm, press the shoulder down. And then notice what I'm saying, that the more you let your shoulder move, the more the hand can move. Therefore, the more the arm can move. Great. Come back to that rolling movement. You notice the way that the inward movement of the arm goes with the tension in the chest, the neck, maybe even down into your stomach. You could sink your lower back. You relax to rest. You roll the arm open. There's a gentle arching. Press the shoulder back. Feel the tension down your spine, perhaps. Posterior shoulder. Get familiar with that movement in your center. Because what we're going to do in a moment is going to have you glue your hand in place. So now the hand becomes the fixed part. And the rest of you moves. So with your hand in position, wherever it is, glue it in place. But come back to this movement of your chest, of your shoulder, arching as you sink the shoulder. Relax to rest. Flattening your lower back as you slide your shoulder towards the ceiling. Relax to rest. Good. As the shoulder moves, notice the articulation of your elbow Let the elbow bend as your shoulder comes up. Let the elbow straighten as your shoulder presses back. Change the position of your hand. Notice if you were to rotate your hand so that the thumb and pinky are in a different position. And if you were to place your hand either closer to your side or further away from your side and come back to this sliding of your shoulder up and down, how does that change which parts of your arm are involved? This is a great way to maintain, you can say, a sense of novelty, especially if you've had a practice for a while, because even the way we do the cat stretch can become habituated. And so this concept of just changing the position, changing which part of you is fixed while the other parts are moving, helps to maintain that space of learning that comes through novelty. Finish what you're on and go ahead and come to rest. And then I want you to straighten out your legs and just take a moment. Notice any changes that are occurring so far. How does your left side versus right side feel? And then I'm going to have you roll onto one of your sides. Now, here's how you're going to pick which side to roll onto. Put your hands in your waist and feel the space between your ribs and your hip on the left and right side. Whatever side is shorter, whatever side is tighter, firmer, whatever side has less space between the ribs and the hip, I want you to roll so that that side is facing the ceiling. And then bend your hips and knees about 90 degrees. Use a pillow to support your head or blanket or mat or cat or anything that you can rest your head on comfortably that will support you. For some people, your hand can work, but a lot of people want more support than that. So take care of yourself. Great. And now, once again, I want you with a straight arm, I want you to just make a circle in the air with that arm. Notice how much movement you can do with that arm. Notice any clicks, pops, any achy spots, any limitations, any stretching. Frozen shoulder is this clinical diagnosis for when someone's glenohumeral joint is inflamed to the point of locking. And some of us have that, but a lot of us just have general restriction, some general restriction because again, of like old injuries, of fear, bracing, tension, stress. So notice the comfort or discomfort you have in that arm. And now I want you to bring that arm down onto your hip and let it rest on the side of your hip. Relative conjugate movement says that we flip the frame of reference. So normally the arm is what's in motion. But what if the arm becomes fixed and everything else has to be in motion? So this is one of my favorite things to do here, which is we're gonna draw a bicycle wheel with our shoulders. And we're gonna draw specific parts of the bicycle wheel. So The trick to this is that your wrist is glued to your hip and cannot move, but anything else can move. And the first thing I want you to do is I want you to draw the hub of that wheel, which is the part that clicks into the frame, the center of the wheel, essentially. So you're going to start to make your shoulder draw a really nice, small circle in the air. Go one direction and the other direction. Now you want this bicycle wheel to work. So it needs to be a circle. Can't be a square, can't be a oval, can't be a hexagon with a bite taken out of it. Notice if you can actually draw, and like you can imagine there's a marker on the tip of your shoulder. Notice if you can actually draw a really good hub. And you're likely going to find, well, heck, my shoulder can make a circle for part of this, but it actually becomes really kind of clunky in other parts. And I just want you to notice that and just try to make it a little bit more circular. I want you to change direction. And even make this circle a little bit bigger. Not a huge circle yet, just a slight amount bigger, like a ½ inch bigger in diameter. And as you're moving your scapula, I want you to notice what else is moving. Notice a slight amount of flexion and extension in your elbow. Notice the way the shoulder blade is kind of sliding all around your rib cage. But for the most part, you're moving your shoulder right now and your spine is more or less stable. We're going to change that now because now we need to make the what's called the rim of the wheel, which is the part that the tire is connected to, which is further out from the hub. So you need to make a bigger circle now. And in order to do that, you need to get your spine and rib cage moving. So, for example, as you bring your shoulder forward in front of you, I want you to sink in your center, sink your heart and chest behind you. And as you bring your shoulder down, you're going to need to hike your hip up a little bit. You need to crunch in the waist slightly. And as you bring your shoulder back behind you, I want you to let your ribs move forward and your back arch. And then as you bring your shoulder up, your waist has to lengthen. Your top waist has to lengthen. Your neck will actually shorten. So making a big movement in your shoulder is actually going to come from moving your spine and rib cage and waist. Can you make this circular by arching as your arm comes back, by sinking in your center to let the arm come forward, by crunching in the waist a bit as your arm comes down, and by lengthening your waist as the arm comes up to your ear. So this movement of your shoulder starts to become this really nice, it's almost like a belly dancing type move in your rib cage and spine. Remember, the hand can't move. The hand is fixed on your hip. Reverse direction. Can you sense the muscles all around your torso that are coordinating this action? Through your chest, up into your neck, down your back, down into your waist. Yes. Perhaps you can sense how we're creating movement in your hip and pelvis here as well. There's the magic. Without even asking you to move your hip and pelvis. I bet you already were. Nice. Finish what you're doing. Come to rest. Now, the last part of this that I like to do is I like to draw the final part of the tire of the wheel, which is the spokes that go from the hub to the rim. Now, these are straight lines. These are straight lines that go out to the edge, through the center, and across behind you. So with your hand still in this place on your hip, you're going to start to draw with your shoulder the spokes all the way in front of you, all the way back, all the way up, all the way down. Let your ribs move. Let your heart move and your spine move, however it needs to. And make a dozen really good lines connecting center to the rim. Notice how much your rib cage, spine, and shoulder are interconnected. And you might also consider how much is going on in your elbow and wrist, even though the hand is fixed. Good. Finish the one you're on, and then move that arm around again. Lift the hand off your hip, unglue it. Go and just circle it around in the air again. Explore if that feels different or the same as it did a few minutes ago. Explore if that tension or pain that you were worried about is still there. And if you're finding that your arm can move freely, acknowledge that. This is not a fluke. If your arm's moving freely, then it very well could be that the thing you were unconsciously bracing around, the thing that was limiting your shoulder movement, is not necessary. And if you can recognize that and internalize that and embrace that, then you now have a shoulder that works better for you. Very good. Go and roll onto your backs for a moment. We're going to switch things up. We're going to work with the other shoulder too. And we're going to do some work with the hips and towards the end of this as well. So don't worry if you're thinking, what about the pelvis? What about the knees? Before you roll on the other side, consider how that arm and shoulder we just worked with feels. And then when you're ready, I invite you to roll onto the side we just focused on. Bend your hips 90 degrees, bend your knees 90 degrees. Take that top arm now and go ahead and once again, same thing, go ahead and explore moving it through the air. Notice how the elbow feels, notice how the wrist feels, notice how the shoulder feels. Now this time, instead of putting the hand on the top of your hip, I want you to place the hand on the ground in front of you. And you can either do this with the palm on the ground or you can do this with a soft fist. Personally, I used to have a lot of wrist soreness, and so having my hand flat with the wrist bent was always uncomfortable for me. So you decide but have it roughly right in front of your heart so that your arms coming out at about a 90-degree angle and the elbow is about a 90-degree angle too. So it's making like a nice square with your arm on the ground. There we go. Now you're going to glue your hand in place. The hand cannot move. And we're going to make a bicycle wheel on this side. And if you say, I didn't know I was going to be making a wheel, I don't want my hand here. Well, you can move your hand. It's okay. But whatever position you decide to have your hand, you're just going to keep it there. And now your hand can't move, but your shoulder can. And begin making a really easy circle with that shoulder. Like you've got a marker or like a 3D printer. Like your shoulder is the arm of a 3D printer and it's forming the hub of a wheel with a really steady, smooth, circular movement one way and the other. And initially that circle is very small. But it should be a wheel that will roll, remember. So you want it to be as smooth and circular as you can get it. And then you're going to start to make that circle a little bit bigger. And in doing this, you may feel your rib cage and spine start to wiggle a little bit. You may even feel your pelvis start to wiggle a little bit. That's totally fine. Anything that wants to move is great. But now, can you make a really big rim of this wheel? Part the tire is connected to. So enlarge that circle. And you're going to enlarge that circle by moving your spine more, arching as your shoulder comes back, hiking the hip a bit while your shoulder pulls down, sinking in your center when the shoulder comes forward, and then bringing the shoulder up toward your ear, lengthening your waist in the top part of it. And as you move around, you make that nice big wheel rim. The more that you can move your center, the larger that wheel rim will become. Okay, try it in both directions. You will likely find that there are edges that are hard to make circular, and that's okay. Just notice that. Just make note of that. You're making note of where the sensory motor amnesia is, essentially. The zones of movement that your brain has a hard time figuring out how to get through. We all have these. And in the process of making note where they exist, recognize that your nervous system is already trying to work it out. And now let's draw some spokes connecting through the hub from one side of the rim to the other. Long, straight lines. Make about a dozen of these. And as you do, I want you to observe what's going on in your pelvis when you move your shoulder this way. What's going on in your ribs when you move your shoulder this way? Your elbow, your wrist. And then finish when you're on. I want you to take that arm and explore how the arm feels now after doing that. Great. And then make your way onto your back. You can roll your head side to side. Remember how your head felt before? We haven't done anything too much deliberately with the head and neck, but I'm curious if you might already find that there's some benefit to how your neck feels now. Now put your hands on your waist, the top of your hips. Your legs are straight if that's comfortable. If you need to have a pillow underneath your knees, you are invited, you're encouraged to do that. Anything you need to do to make yourself more comfortable, please do. But if your legs are comfortable straight and your back's comfortable with your legs straight, then keep them like that. Think again about which side of your waist is tighter. Locate that side. And this is another example of relative conjugate movement, right? Can you lengthen that? Can you move that hip around? Move that leg around. See how that feels. The hip and leg on the side that's tighter. Just kind of wiggle it around, bend it, move it around a little bit. You might sense some nervousness around moving it, or that nervousness might be unconscious and you'll just feel some limitation in your ability to move that leg and hip. But what if we think about relative conjugate movement and instead of moving the hip that's tight, we move the one that's less tight? So I want you to lengthen your opposite leg. I want you to lengthen and relax that opposite leg. And come to rest. Lengthen and relax. I want you to lengthen that leg and roll it in. Turn the knee in as you lengthen. Relax. I want you to turn that leg out from this place of rest. Roll that leg out, bend the knee, slide the foot up your midline. Good. And then bring your knee up to the ceiling, rolling the bottom of your foot down. Good. And now straighten that leg back down. So we're going to make a little circle with your less tight hip. You're going to reach, roll it in. You're going to relax, roll it out. Slide the foot up your midline. And then put the bottom of the foot on the ground as you bring your knee up. And as you do this, I want you to keep your hand on the waist and hip of the tight side and observe if you can feel things changing in there as you go through this circular movement with your other leg. What changes around this hip as you move that other leg? You're going to notice that there's shifting going on in your pelvis, for example. And you're going to notice that there's engaging and relaxing in the waist area, maybe even in the back. Nice. One more time. And when you finish this last time, go ahead and move the other leg around now again and notice if it's feeling any different. And if you're noticing a new possibility for what this leg can do, then now you can do the same things with this leg as you did on the other. Straightening it. Roll it in for a moment as you straighten it. Good, relax. Let the knee turn out. Slide the foot up your midline. Roll the knee up to the ceiling as you're bringing your foot back down on the ground. Go slow, go easy. Can you allow your whole side to lengthen as you reach through the leg? And how much of you is moving as you do this? How much of it is on your opposite side is moving? How much is this is coming up into your spine, your shoulders, your neck? Good. We're going to do one last thing now. So I want you to bend both your knees now, bring them both up. Relative conjugate movement, changing what's fixed. I'd like you to bring your knees a little bit wider than hips width apart. Your feet, yep. Now your feet are fixed. Your feet cannot slide. They cannot change position. They can roll side to side on the insides and outsides, but they can't change position. And with your feet stuck in this place, I want you to tilt one knee in towards the opposite foot. Good. Come back up and switch. And notice how when you stick the feet and move the knees, because the feet can't move, this creates relative conjugate movement in the waist, in pelvis, and spine. Now, not only are we sticking the feet, but now I want you to stick your right leg. The whole right leg cannot move. The right knee stays facing the ceiling. And all you can do is move your left knee inward and outward. I love doing this, especially let's say someone's got pain or stiffness in the right hip and pelvis. They might be wary of moving their right leg and pelvis. But as you move your left knee in and out, consider how much is going on in that right pelvis and hip and in the waist on the right side. Can you feel how the whole femur is kind of pulled up into the socket on the right side as the left knee goes in? And then you can switch it out. You can now fix your left leg in place and move your right leg. Martha Peterson calls this walking one. This is a preparation for walking upright. But it's also a really good exploration of this concept of when you shift which part of you is stable, how much movement does that generate up into the proximal regions, up into your pelvis, spine, back. So now I want you to go back and forth, and you can do this nice, just relaxed twisting. Let your knees relax over to the left, bring your knees back over to the right. Go slow, go easy, shifting side to side. And let's consider now what's going on in your ribs, what's going on in your neck and shoulders. Can you feel this winding and unwinding, releasing your neck, moving the parts of you on the complete opposite side? Freeze the neck. And if the neck wants to move as part of this, let it move. And if your shoulders or arms want to move, let them move. You want to take this all the way, we think of it as like a full wash rag movement, rolling the arm one way and the other. Or if you want to do something else with your arms that feels like it would be connected. Good. Nice. One or two more times, and then straighten out your legs and come back to rest. And as you come to rest, I want you to, first of all, consider the points of contact. Consider how you're touching the ground you're lying on, the areas where it makes firm contact, the areas where air passes. I want you to consider left versus right. I invite you to move your arms and limbs around and notice if they feel different, if they move different. Meaning, is the conventional way that we move our parts, has that been changed by the relative conjugate movements? And then make your way up to standing, and we're going to consider what it's like being upright after what we just did. And as you come upright, check back with how you're feeling overall, physically, good, bad, in between. Check back with the parts of yourself that might have been a little stiff or achy or painful before, and notice if they are as they were an hour ago, or if they're different. And any parts that you weren't aware of, are you perhaps more aware of them, right? Whatever's changed, just make note of that. I invite you to make note of your overall emotional state as well. How has your mood been affected, if it has? And then your cognitive state. It's your brain. Do your thoughts have a different quality to them now? Great. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you understand that you're already doing a lot of that, right? So there's a sense that that's already in it, and that's why the magical effects of this work can feel so magical sometimes. But also that idea you can take and you can run with and you can explore, and you can bring that idea into whatever it is, any movement pattern that you're doing that you want to create novelty around. So thank you. I think that we shift now into Q&A, if I'm correct. Right, Susan? If you're talking, I can't hear you. You may have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I have to. I am going to just bring my voice back in to say thank you so much for an official goodbye. We are going to end the video portion, and we're going to go into discussion. Everyone is welcome to stay for discussion, ahas, anything you would like to share. So let me stop the recording.